Hey there, it's Will. I wanted to go through the markets quickly and then talk about some stocks, the growth stocks I want to get into. That's kind of my focus lately is going to be growth stocks, stocks that are growing in revenues and that type of thing. We've had a little bit of a value rotation again with the announcement of a vaccine, but a lot of times it doesn't last, and the vaccine won't be available till next year probably, so it's not even finished, the study. So anyway, mostly I want to show you the charts, kind of how I see things, and hopefully can help you. And of course, it's not investment advice. So if we look at the Russell 2000, we had a big spike yesterday and then a sell-off. And today it's up as of today, as of this morning in pre-market. So TC2000 software shows you the pre-market. You can see up here it says pre-market 9:12 a.m. which is really nice. There's also this watch list thing here, which is pre-market. And this only shows you stocks that are in the pre-market, which is nice because it shows your 9:11 a.m. Because a lot of times you're looking at stocks and you won't see anything for today because it's not available for trading at that point. So this watch list only shows you things that are actually trading in the morning, which is nice. Then you can apply your specific criteria. So this is in an uptrend still. Dow Jones as well. The S&P. This downtrend, it could be just a sell-off, profit taking, but because it was quite a huge spike on the news. So we'll see what happens if that triggers anything. Nasdaq is looking not great because basically there's a sector rotation into value, quote unquote value stocks like airlines, banks, and energy and stuff like that. So we'll see how far that goes. But so that's the general take. Obviously, with the news events driving things, it's a bit volatile. But what I try to do is look at the charts. And so I'm going to talk about some stocks that I haven't mentioned before. And these are growth stocks, stocks that have good growth potential and growth, results that we've seen in revenues and stuff. So I'm just going to pick some at random, but Plug Power is interesting. And what I do, generally speaking, is look for a break of a downtrend here. So this would be a good entry point right around here, which is the November 3rd area. You can see, MACD crossing up momentum, and stochastics are rising at that point. And so you can see I've got this line. So with TC2000, I draw this line and trend line. And there's also, if you draw a horizontal line and see if it's going to break the previous high at this point, in which it has. If you want to get TC2000, if you haven't already, you can get a free trial or $25 off in the description below. And I've got the gold membership because, it gives you a certain amount of services. I notice people are signing up and some people are for silver, which is fine. And you might want to upgrade to gold. And I've also got the US real-time data as well. So other things, there's a lot of things you could look for, but a nice uptrending, upsloping 50 and 200 moving day average. Unity is a relatively new IPO. You can see there's not much data here, which would be a little bit more risky in that sense without a lot of historical information. But it is in an uptrend, higher lows and higher highs. And some of these have earnings dates. So nice thing with TC2000, you can add the earnings date and you can see that that's coming up. So you might decide you don't want to be holding the stock during the earnings, which could go up or down depending on the news. Or if you believe in the company and you want to hold, then you could ride that no matter what happens. Pacific Biosciences is an interesting one. So you can see here we broke a bit of a pullback, and of course it was in a huge uptrend. And then it started this uptrend again. So you can see that the MACD is about to cross here. So there's an upsloping MACD and stochastics. There was this recent high here. So of course, you have to see if it's going to make it through there. End phase is, of course, solar. Same sort of scenario, a pullback and a break of that little pullback. So there's a chance that that will continue. Invite, break of a downtrend. It's a little bit flat right here, but it did support at the 50. So that's another one that has potential. GDRX is another new IPO. And since it spiked and then came back down, it wasn't really in a great position, but just all of a sudden yesterday, it broke through this downtrend. But what I noticed was that November 12th is the earnings coming up. So a lot of stocks will start to rise in advance of the earnings. So you might want to investigate getting stocks a week or two before earnings and then sell just before earnings or something like that. You can't really guarantee what's going to happen with earnings dates. Even if it's good earnings, it could be other negative issues in the report. So, but what I'm trying to point out in these videos mostly is the technical analysis. But what I'm doing is applying technical analysis to growth stocks. So you could buy a bunch of stocks, hold them as your core position, and then trade those same stocks for some of your account. That's one option, because these things will go up and down over time, and they're high growth stocks, so they usually move more. Space recently crossed a downtrend as well and broke through. You can see here it broke through the 200 and the 50 day, and there's a cross of the MACD and a rising stochastic. Palantir is another new stock, a new IPO. It's been going up pretty well. So when you saw this, you had this breakout here, a pullback, and another breakthrough. So right now it's a bit flat, and again there's an earnings date coming up for that. Aqua Bounty is a company that produces salmon in inland using some genetic modification. It's broke through this downtrend and is in a bit of an uptrend, breaking through the 50 as well. One thing you can do with these growth stocks, if you want to use TC2000, is look at the fundamentals. And so over here, it'll show the earnings per share change. So you can see these are quite nice for over the last year and the last quarter. So they might have a negative earnings per share, but the earnings is growing as a percent. And that's an interesting, there's different ways to look at this. So I'm not going to get into fundamental analysis, but you can look at TC2000 for that to see, and there's a variety of factors that are, there's not just one factor that determines if it's a good purchase or not. Like, for example, some companies have really good return on equity or return on assets, and this one is negative. So if that turns you off, then you might not be interested in that. So let's go back to the main tab. And then with the value, so quote unquote stocks, you might want to look at, let's just go with ExxonMobil, for example. So there was a breakdown, a breakout past a break through this huge downtrend here, but the spike, but we don't know if it'll continue. But from a chart perspective, that did break through. There's still a downsloping 50 and 200 MA. So if that's a criteria for you, waiting for that to turn around a bit, you could do that. Like if you see here, when this 50 started to slope up, there was a spike, but the 200 never really turned around at this point. So it's kind of early, but that news, and like I said, the vaccine won't be available right away, but it was announced yesterday. Rig, so you can see here it's down a little bit this morning, a couple percent after that initial spike. But before the announcement of the vaccine, it was breaking through. There was an earnings announcement that was pretty good. But so we'll have to see if this continues. But if you want to look at oil and gas, one thing I do is go to drill down. I've talked about this before. You can see energy was at the top yesterday. And then you can sort by percent change if you want, or other criteria. And you can find companies that, you know, are doing really well. Imperial Oil is a name that you might know. But it was going up prior to the announcement, so there was a big drop. So you can see here, sometimes what I like to do is put a flat little line here at the low, and then it shows me that there was another higher low established, and you could argue that there's one right there. So we've broken a downtrend, and it started to go up again. But like I said, this 50-day and 200 are still down sloping, but this is potentially the start of a turnaround. You can find subcategories, indices of the market. For example, exploration and production. So you've got Occidental, and that's a huge downtrend, and now we're breaking through again with higher lows coming here. And refining. So we've got Halliburton. That's under the equipment and services. That's a good name, and Schlumberger is another one. So you can see we've broken through, and today we're up 1.2%. We got to get through the 200, and like I said, it would be nice to see a turnaround of the 50-day, but these are starting to break through. So we'll see what happens. If there's a shutdown over the winter and the vaccines aren't coming out, or there's some issues, that might affect this again. But I think people are a bit hopeful that things are going to start turning around in those stocks. So it's up to you whether you want to get into, the quote unquote value stocks or not. All right. Hope that helps. If you want to get TC2000, check out the link in the description below. There's also a Candlestick Forum chat group, which is great for learning candlestick trading, and also a course which goes through all of the aspects of trading, including stop losses and risk management and stuff like that. All right, guys, talk to you later.